The king who married a corpse. What kind of man waits until after death to marry the love of his life? History has seen its fair share of twisted romances, political unions, and scandalous affairs. But few stories are as eerie and strangely romantic as the tale of the king who married a corpse. This is the story of King Pedro of Portugal, also known as Pedro the Cruel, or depending on whom you ask, Pedro the Passionate, and the woman he loved so deeply that even death couldn't separate them. Her name was Inés de Castro, a Galician noblewoman. She wasn't royalty. She wasn't a politically approved match. But she was everything to Pedro. They met at court, where she served as a lady-in-waiting to his official wife. But even before Pedro's arranged marriage, he and Inés had already begun a secret, burning affair. When Pedro's wife died young, many assumed he would marry Inés, but the Portuguese court had other plans. Nobles feared her growing influence, especially since her family had political ties to Castile, a rival kingdom. The whispers at court grew louder. Inés was dangerous, a foreign threat, a temptress leading the future king astray. Pedro didn't care. He moved Inés into his estate and lived with her openly, as though she were queen. They had several children together, but despite their shared life, the court refused to recognize their union, and Pedro never formally declared her as his wife, not yet. Eventually, pressure mounted. Pedro's father, King Afonso IV, decided to act. He sent 3 assassins to confront Inés. She was dragged from the monastery where she'd taken refuge, and brutally murdered in front of her own children. Pedro was devastated. What followed was not forgiveness, but fury. After his father's death and Pedro's rise to the throne, he launched an obsessive campaign to avenge the woman he loved. He hunted down the assassins personally, and in a particularly gruesome act of vengeance. He had 2 of them executed by tearing out their hearts, one from the front, the other from the back. A macabre symbol of betrayal. But that wasn't all. Pedro had a secret. He claimed that, in private, he had secretly married Inés years before her murder, which meant, in his eyes, she had been his lawful wife. And therefore, she had died as Queen of Portugal. He was determined to prove it. Pedro ordered her body to be exhumed from its grave. Her corpse, decayed, silent, and broken, was dressed in royal robes and placed on a throne. Members of the court were summoned. One by one, nobles were forced to kneel before the long-dead Inés and kiss the hand of their queen. It's hard to say whether this was grief, madness, or some twisted version of justice. But Pedro wasn't done. He gave Inés the royal burial she had been denied. Her new tomb was carved with exquisite detail, adorned with angels, stone roses, and scenes of Judgment Day. It was placed directly opposite his own, so that, when Judgment Day arrived, when the dead would rise, they would be the first thing each other saw. Some historians debate the marriage claim. Was it true, or a royal fantasy used to elevate Inés posthumously and punish his enemies? Either way, it left an unforgettable mark on Portugal's history and its folklore. To this day, Inés de Castro is remembered not just as a noblewoman or a victim, but as the queen who ruled in death. And Pedro, as the king who married a corpse, loved beyond the grave, and made